Pretty sure he's from Serbia.
I say Russian province. I don't know, like one of the places that broke off.
And both of his brothers reside there still.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They are, I'll show you a picture afterwards. So they're massive. And welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. Let's go. We're going to talk about world hunger. Today's kind of a debate show because a lot of these topics are things that there's kind of a walking back and forth over the fence of who's right and who's wrong here. We're going to talk about Elon Musk, world hunger, and the World Food Program. There was a debate on Twitter. It didn't get out of hand, but which side you kind of lean on, which I know it's insane that there's a side when you're talking about world hunger, but it's an interesting conversation to have around Elon Musk and world hunger.
I just thought about that. Like there's a good side and a bad side.
It's
Our
crazy.
show is today about people being called out and people calling back.
Yes.
Saying, okay.
And say,
let's do this.
Yeah, let's see it. The other part of that is we're going to talk about Dave Portnoy and Barstool Sports and the allegations made against him by Business Insider. And it is the part of this story that's really neat is somebody who's just refusing to back down to cancel culture and is succeeding for the most part. But I think it's worth diving into that aspect.
And I knew nothing about this.
Yes.
Until you explained it to me this morning, and it is a riveting story. No matter how much you like, I mean, if you're not a sports person, you're Barstool Sports, you're like, it has nothing to do with sports. Yeah. It has to do with business. It is a fascinating story. You will love it.
And then the last one this is for you and I. We're going to talk about sports fighting. We're going to talk about the basics, the particulars, breaking it down, who's actually to blame. The NBA MVP last night, who was from Serbia, and he is not a small dude. There was a tussle, there were ejections, but you and I have a different angle, a different take, a different approach on this that we want to talk about.
And you should find it and watch it when we get there. Again, even if it's the clip I saw is a minute. It is a minute out of your life, and you will be glad you watched it. But for those of you who won't watch it, Jeff and I will demonstrate. I will play the part of Jokic, and Jeff will play the part of, was it Markieff Morris?
It was one of the Morris twins.
It was one of the Morris. I think it was Markieff. Either way, you will be Morris.
Thank you.
I will be Jokic, and we will demonstrate.
It's not a fair role because I would not have turned my back on a 7-footer when I didn't know what was happening.
But just for acting purposes, like I'm not as big and tough as Jokic is, so it won't be as bad on you.
No, and I'm a little more sturdier than you, so I'm going to be able to take the hit. So this is good. Plus, I'm not as fragile. Once you turn 50, you become a little fragile.
Tell me. I heard something, and I wish I could remember because it would make the story better. I did reached for something, and it was like, wow, that hurt. And I was like, maybe buckling a seatbelt, just something stupid. Okay. And I was like, is this really where life has gone?
What it's come to.
I wish it would have been a good story if I could remember. But in the moment, I was like, oh, dear God, that actually hurt.
How are you feeling today?
I'm not hurt. So far. And now that I get to give you a forearm shiver right to the back, that's really put a little spring in my step. But it's good. It's for the sake of the show. It's a little physical comedy. Well, it'll be fun.
I always notice when you talk about noticing getting older, changes, and steering wheel. If I will notice sometimes, if I turn the wheel and I kind of make the full, I used to do that in my sleep. Now, if I'm kind of making the left-hand turn, my shoulder. So it's funny you say, you don't notice. It's the little moments when you notice you're getting older or that your body can't do what it used to
Did I ever tell you that? And this is, right now I'm having an elbow problem with my right elbow from throwing a football with my son.
Okay.
And it the next day I was like, ow. And so I shut it down. It's probably now been a month.
Okay.
And my thought is I'm just going to rest it out.
Yeah.
And it's been a month and it's still there.
Okay.
I hurt my left shoulder once, fortunately, because I'm right-handed. I hurt my left shoulder and I don't even know what I did doing it.
That might not be a rested out type of this.
Well,
that strategy might not work.
I gotta believe that if something was really I can do everything. And most of the time it doesn't hurt. It's only when I I think if it was worse, I would know, but we'll see.
Can I want your honest opinion.
Well, here, let me just tell you this quick. I hurt my left shoulder, and I don't know how. I think I hurt it at baseball practice or something, trying to do something. And it was literally 11 months before I could lay down on a bench press pain-free. Okay. And when I did it, I had a 10-pound weight on each side. I remember when I bench pressed 65 pounds as a grown adult, and I was so excited because I could actually take the bar to my chest and take it up, and my shoulder didn't hurt. But I had to let it, it was 11 months. I got a cortisone shot. I thought either this is the end or I'm going to have surgery. Yeah. But eventually it got better. So that's what I'm thinking. I hope it's not 11 months because I'd like to be able to throw by baseball season. But be that as it may. So tell me
you're okay. No, it's not important. Let's go with, you want to talk about world hunger first?
Sure. I mean, this is the most boring of ours, but I think it's a good segue into Barstool.
Let's talk about Barstool.
No. Let's talk about this first because this is a minute-long story.
We need to work on your selling.
I'm trying to be honest with the audience.
This is our most boring
Here's
story.
What happened. I'll summarize it in 2 sentences.
Okay, go ahead.
The guy from the World Hunger Organization, the CEO.
Okay. So it is
the Grand Poobah.
Yes, the Grand Poobah, who basically is in charge by United Nations to look over world hunger.
So he said
the WFP.
Okay, so he said if Elon Musk gave $6 billion,
the exact one was $6 billion. It was 2% of Elon Musk's wealth is $6 billion.
Okay,
and that's what was in the title of what would solve world hunger.
Okay, so he basically called Elon Musk, or not necessarily, but he's like, if Elon Musk only gave $6 billion, only 2% of his money, we would solve world hunger. Elon Musk came back and said, okay, if you could, show me the data, I'm not just giving you $6 billion,
right?
But if you can really show me your study and how this works and how it's going to be taken care of, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Crickets.
Yes.
I think it's great.
So for the first couple of weeks, there were crickets. Nothing was happening. Now, there was a great debate going on Twitter about how to solve world hunger and how do you do it and what does it look like. People brought up really good points. I think when people think of world hunger, they think of food. And one of the things that I've learned in the last couple of days is food is 10% of it. Water is another 10%. But 4/5 of this is stability. Being able to have a supply chain, being able to deliver it, having a steady enough economy and having a steady enough society where food can consistently be delivered over and over and over again. There are facets of this that go way beyond the idea of pulling a carrot out of the ground and handing it to a kid. And that is the side that kind of was very eye-opening for me. And I think that was maybe part of the point. If you are a Musk believer, I think a small part of what he was hitting at was that. It's not just going to take $6 billion because you're going to have to deliver this stuff. You're going to have to protect this stuff because you're going to be going into places where people will literally kill for the stuff that we're about to deliver and the things we're about to provide. So that aspect of it was very unique from it. If Musk really was trying to get back at them, he knew $6 billion wasn't going to be enough because he's a business guy and he knows how this stuff works. It takes manpower and it takes time and it takes effort. So that aspect of it, I think Musk was on top of his game. The other side of this,
I think the whole party's on top of it.
You think so? So the other part of this,
he's basically you're going to make this state. Where'd you come up with $6 billion? Okay.
Yeah.
Just show me your research.
Show us how you're going to do it.
Show me your plan.
Yeah.
And they have no plan.
Now, here, it gets even funkier too. In 2020, the UN World Food Program, the WFP, which is what this guy is in charge of, they actually raised $8.4 billion. And guess what was not solved?
I have no other joke. I was trying to come up with something funny and I failed miserably. So I'll just stick with world hunger.
World hunger was not solved. Now, I don't want to demean that too much because to raise $8.4 billion towards a cause is, especially world hunger, it means something. So I don't want to belittle it. I'm not trying to shame what they did. However, to get $8.4 billion and then make the claim that hey, if we just take 2% of that guy's money, we would solve this stuff. And it's you actually had 20% more than that in the year 2020 and it wasn't solved. So Now here's a,
Did you ever see The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind?
yes, I have on Netflix.
Yes.
No,
It was part of the thing, you've probably never seen Sam Kinison do any stand-up, have you?
Yeah, I've seen Sam Kinison.
Did you see the part where he's like, the problem is you live in a desert?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's really the issue. It's, you can give them all, but they're renewable. It's like we talk about renewable energy. It's their renewable food sources.
Yes.
And how do they get ways to irrigate and to grow stuff when they live in a desert?
Yes. Oh yeah, that's overpopulation in itself. I forget somebody who said it.
Sam said it way more eloquently.
Oh, absolutely. But someone like recently, it was before the pandemic, but somebody made the comment that like we do not have a hunger problem, like we have a population problem. Like it's like you have too many people living in places where you just sustainably cannot.
It's not sustainable.
You just can't grow enough of it, or you can't provide enough of it. Like that's so this idea of like hunger, and he's like, no, like birth control, like it's and
right.
so whether or not your feelings on world population and whether or not you should be limited to procreation, I don't know. The other part of this, because that's a whole other separate conversation.
Good when you end the topic with limiting procreation. That's what you talk about. You talk about my salesmanship. That's how.
What, procreation?
Having your sex sells, and then you're saying, and you're ending it with limit procreation.
It does. Listen, I'm just saying it could be a conversation.
I understand your point, but hey, I'm getting a call from Miami, Florida right now. Should I answer this? What are the odds that this is about my extended car warranty? Or
can we talk about you will sit here and I will listen to you for 45 minutes before the show, and you'll tell me this and you'll tell me that, and your phone won't ring, you won't look at it, you won't do anything. We start the show and it's like I look over and like you're texting and you're looking down and now your phone's ringing. It is uncanny how your phone just doesn't matter for 45 minutes before the show, and then it's the only thing that goes off during the show.
Does this happen to you, or am I the only one? Does the number of times, because in our world right now, the phone doesn't really ring all that much.
Okay.
It buzzes because we get texts or we get this, but to actually get a call, the percentage of the amount of time that I'm in the bathroom and the amount of time and the number of phone calls I get, the proportion, it happens way too often for it to be purely coincidental. And I have said, it is the greatest sign to me that there is a God and he's bored and he just likes to torment me while I'm in the bathroom, because my phone will ring all the time and it's in your pocket and you just can't. And it happens to me all the time.
It's funny. Hot take. The phone God does not care that much about you. Just a hot take for you.
I'm telling you, the mathematics of it does not work out.
Last part of this that I want to bring up, something's probably going to come out of this. Before you went off on solving the wind, we were talking about world hunger and Elon Musk.
The boy who harnessed the wind.
Before you looked at your phone for the 7th time during the show so far, we were talking about world hunger and Elon Musk. One of the craziest parts about this that I think is worth mentioning, something's going to come of this. It might not be $6 billion. And here's the other part. Elon Musk it's said that he's going to have to sell off Tesla stock regardless. So some of this is like Elon Musk shouldn't get all this praise. He was going to have to sell this stock. He was going to have to. So him saying he's going to sell Tesla stock for $6 billion, he was going to have to sell some of this stuff anyway. However, whatever the motivations behind it were for Elon Musk, or the motivations behind it for the coordinator for the World Food Program, there's now they have reached out to him. They are in conversations about trying to put a plan together, what they could do, and something will probably happen. And so the internet's, just when you think the internet's this horrible place and nothing's great, and Elon Musk said this, and the World Food Program said that, and at the end of the day, there's probably going to be billions of dollars going towards world hunger that 2 weeks before these tweets was not.
No, but I love the fact that, Elon Musk is the worldwide figure in this, and the guy the CEO of the World Food Bank, nobody knows who he is, even though he has an important job and he's obviously achieved. Right. Nobody knows who he is. So it's easy for nobody to take a shot at somebody. Sure. And I love, when I used to do sports talk in Baltimore, Most of it was incredibly fun and peaceful and whatever. But every now and then you would have a guy who didn't like my brother.
Sure.
And I remember like one guy in specifically, he called, I think he called the show because this was before the days of blogging, but he called and he's like, they were talking about that Mike was one of the best 5 pitchers in the American League at that time.
Okay.
And he calls up and he says, there's no way your brother's one of the best 5 pitchers in the American League. And like, this is, and I'm up for the debate. Like, I'm ready.
You're right.
And I was like, okay, then name me your 5.
Right.
And he kind of hemmed and hawed. And I said, I'll even help you. He's not as good as Randy Johnson.
Sure.
He's not as good as Pedro Martinez. So you got to find 3 more. And the guy started hemming and hawing, and he was like, and I was like, it ended up getting to the point where he says, well, I don't even really know the whole American League. I just follow the Orioles. And I was like, well, then how do you make this statement? But it is always, I love it when somebody comes out and makes some brash thing about like, oh, all you have to do. And the guy's like, cool, show me your plan. And then the guy basically turns around and without saying it, he says, well, I don't really have a plan. I don't have any stats to back it up. I was just talking to talk.
Sure.
And I love when that happens. That's why I love the Barstool story, because it's different, but it's the same.
Yeah, no, we can dive into that one next. So at Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy, are you?
Who is he? Is he the bigwig?
So Dave Portnoy started Barstool Sports.
Okay.
He is literally referred to as El Presidente. So in Barstool Sports, the quick 30-second history, when they originally started, he had this like cardboard thing with like a stupid microphone, and he would hold press conferences and refer to himself as El Presidente whenever Barstool would make like at that time, a big announcement. And it's stuck ever since.
So hold on, how old is he? Well, no, hold on.
Late 30s.
Late 30s. When did he start Barstool? 10 years old? Is it
when he was 10?
No. Is the company 10 years old?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So he was in his 20s when he started.
When Barstool Sports originally started, it was print in Boston. It was like a print paper.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yep. It was like a print paper. They had like Hooters was an advertiser like that. Like it was a regular like 10-page print, paper that he tried to start with columns and articles and advertisements.
Gotcha.
Yes. So this wasn't like some guy who just like started typing stuff on the internet and a blog like blew up.
Gotcha.
He started from the ground and built it up.
Okay.
A Business Insider worked on an article. I believe it was 8 to 10 months. They worked on an article. They called different people that he had sexual interactions with. So girlfriends, hookups, all these different people. And Dave Portnoy.
I need to jump in. How do you find the hookups?
Well, with Instagram and Twitter and stuff now, it's not hard. It's not hard to see this girl was at a party with them and had their arm around them, and it's not difficult.
Okay, because she's posting it because he's famous.
Yeah,
and she loves the. Okay, makes sense.
It's not very difficult.
Okay,
and to be honest with you, I bet you they were just reaching out to people and just saying like, "Hey, did Dave ever date this person?"
That's fair. Okay,
so they started reaching out. These women started reaching back to Dave Portnoy and saying, hey, just so you know, Business Insider's reaching out. They're asking about, our hookups, if we dated, all this stuff. So Dave Portnoy got ready. Like he was waiting for Business Insider to call him. And he had a stack of papers, basically like, here's where I was. This is who I was with. He was ready to go because he knew this was coming.
Apparently he was the Warren Beatty of the internet sports scene.
Yes. And he waited and the phone call never came. Business Insider never asked for comment, never reached out, any of it. And eventually what happened was Business Insider published a hit piece, like a takedown piece, that had 2 different incidences of his experiences with women. Neither of them had actual physical abuse. Neither of them had verbal abuse. Emotional abuse is kind of what they tried to go after with these 2 incidences.
Okay.
But there's no like concrete proof of the emotional abuse.
Well, one girl
said that she had to go to counseling afterwards, but did not give the reasoning for why she had to go to counseling.
Right.
Like if she was just distraught because like David Portnoy didn't like her.
They didn't click.
They just didn't click, whatever it may have been. I don't know. I wasn't there. So it was a very vague hit piece. There wasn't a lot to really go off of. And Dave Portnoy's lawyers essentially said, like, don't say anything, don't do anything. And Dave Portnoy said, forget that. Like,
Wait,
I'm going. Like,
did he
I'm
say
going
forget?
after them.
Did he say forget that?
No, it's probably a different F word.
Okay.
Okay. And he has been going after them for the past week or so. And so now there is this ongoing debate of how much can you believe Business Insider when a hit piece or a takedown piece is written about somebody? Do you take it at face value? Like, do you automatically, not necessarily condemn them, but is that hit piece now a part of them? Like, do you have to, the idea that like this is somebody who dates a lot of women and doesn't treat them well, is that forever attached now to Dave Portnoy? And if you are one of those people that happens to, do you fight back? How do you fight back? He is kind of drawing up the playbook of like how to fight back against it.
Well, one of the great aspects that you've explained to me after, I didn't know any of this story till 11 o'clock when you explained it to me. Now I will go read up on it like tonight when I have time. But he has named the two girls.
Yeah.
He has described the experiences.
Right.
One of the girls claimed like it was such a bad interaction that I ended up sleeping on the couch, and he was like, yeah, it didn't go well. And she slept on one couch and I slept on another, and that was it. And it just didn't go well. So, so that is, yes, it just seems so, I don't want to say mean-spirited, but again, it's nobody going after somebody and calling them out. And the somebody's like, listen, I didn't really do anything wrong. Just because the girl went to counseling, maybe I told her, like, I just don't think it's fun. And maybe I'm the fourth guy who has told her that, and she has low self-esteem and she went to counseling because she just, he didn't like me, and why didn't he like me? So,
well, with that girl, he even showed messages that they had sent back and forth. And the reason he showed the messages was to basically demonstrate, like, I would have had no reason to think that she needed counseling, because there were messages before the encounter, there were messages after the encounter, like there were emojis, there were smiley faces, there was exclamation points. There was, in his mind, there was no reason that this girl would be depressed or upset or would need counseling.
So the great part at this is halftime of the story.
Yes.
And to me, it is great that he was like, this is crap. I'm defending myself. I'm not this horrible guy that they've made me out to be. And this is the evidence that I'm not. Yeah, I've dated, maybe he's dated 20 women in his, if he's been head of Barstool Sports.
Sure. And
he is this big, I'd not say big, he's this successful, rich, eligible bachelor in Boston.
Right.
To say that he's had 2 different relationships a year, that's 20 relationships over the last 10 years. Sure. That's very believable if you want to be the big, eligible, successful bachelor.
Sure.
So he's like, listen, it doesn't make me a bad guy. It is what it is.
Yeah. So his approach to this whole thing has been full transparency. He has been sharing screenshots. He has been sharing emails. He's been releasing videos and phone calls and all these different things for anything he's doing to, like, necessarily not even prove his innocence, but just to show that, like, this is what I'm doing and these are the things that are happening. Is everything okay? The world's all right? Is it Miami, Florida again?
No. I just got...
No, it's fine.
Go ahead.
So what happened? So
do you want me to turn my phone over? My phone is over now. I can't see it.
So one of the ironies that I'd expressed to you was Business Insider was the company that wrote the hit piece, the takedown. And I think most people, like, when I thought of Business Insider, to me, like, that was it had a very positive connotation.
It seemed like a reputable source.
Yes. So as they dug into Business Insider, it turns out that the new editor had one job. New editor's only been there like a month right now. And one of the jobs for the new editor was to increase paywall subscribers, because everybody online now is trying to get you to pay for their content.
You know who's not doing that?
NorthcentralPa.com.
Exactly.
We have a video coming out about that. Go there for all your local news. One of the things that David Portnoy and them found out was they wrote this piece, titled it, Dave Portnoy, sexual,
Barstool Sports,
put all these trigger words into the title, and it was one of the first stories they put behind their paywall at Business Insider.
Right.
And so his whole point is, like, if I'm that bad of a guy, like if this is serious news, like this is something that needs to get out there.
If I'm a danger to society,
then like why are you hiding it from people behind a paywall? Like why are you making people?
You should give
and why is it one of the first things you're putting behind this paywall that people have to pay for? It goes deeper than that.
So now we're at the end of the third quarter, and he has come back and basically said, "You've just done this as a bad business gimmick."
Sure.
And it's obvious to the world that this is just a bad business gimmick. Like, why didn't you call me for it? Because you didn't want my comment, because you wanted it to be bad. Also, you could get people behind your paywall. Yes. Now we enter the fourth quarter.
So one of the craziest parts about this is I want to make sure that I say his he is the CEO of Business Insider.
Okay.
His name is Henry Blodgett, Blodget.
Okay.
So one of the things that he found out, he is actually banned from trading. He has like an SEC, he can't trade securities. Essentially what he was doing in the long run is he basically stole people's retirement funds with whoever he was with before.
He's a bad guy.
He's not a good person. He is the CEO of Business Insider. They also found out that he is on a board for another company that trades publicly.
For a hedge fund.
Yes. And this hedge fund shorted a bunch of stock that is associated with Barstool Sports and David Portnoy 2 days before the article was released.
So the CEO of Business Insider has an SEC ban. He cannot trade.
Yes.
But there's a hedge fund that doesn't care that he's banned from the SEC and can't trade.
Correct.
They let him sit on their board.
Yes.
And 2 days before this hit piece ran against Barstool Sports and all its partners, they shorted all the stock.
Correct.
This doesn't sound shady at all.
Nothing at all. And so for David Portnoy, and listen, David Portnoy is far from a saint. Like, I'm not sitting here like saying like, bend down to David Portnoy, take a knee. Like, it's what I'm saying is the title of this story would have led you to believe that David Portnoy did something illegal. And not only did David Portnoy not do anything illegal, you have people writing this story that are some of the shadiest, and I'll stop there because I don't want to use incorrect language, but some of the shadiest people that you could possibly be around.
I have a friend who is a retired state cop. And in telling me, and of course, it's funny because I'm fascinated by all this stuff. And he's like, it's a lot more boring of a job than you would think.
Okay.
Like, it's not like TV.
Sure.
And, but anyway, he has said, because we talked about this, and, you get in domestic disturbances or scuffles and people yelling back and forth at neighbors and all this bad stuff.
Sure.
He said, you would be shocked at how many times someone calls the police and ends up getting themselves arrested because of something they did. And the neighbors, like the calm one or the other spouse, didn't really do anything wrong. And the people are so blinded by rage, either they're so stupid in general, or they're so blinded by rage that they can't get it. And he said to me, you would be shocked at how many people are pissed at someone, call the police on them. When the police show up and get all the facts, no, maybe they both get arrested.
Sure.
But it's not. So it is always fascinating when the whistleblower, if you will, Business Insider was the whistleblower on this guy at Barstool Sports. And all of a sudden we find out, wait, the whistle is going the other way.
Right.
And it seems like Portnoy, and I'd never even heard of his name until you told me this story today. I knew of Barstool Sports, but I didn't know who he was.
Sure.
He seems very comfortable with what he is.
David Portnoy is, I use the word too often. He's fascinating because he is somebody who is so transparent, you almost can't get him. Everything, there's a camera constantly. He does the one bite pizza, one bite, everybody knows the rules. You never seen that before? Oh, you would love it. He does he has this pizza score. He rates them 1 through 10. And every time before he does the score, he goes, one bite, everyone knows the rules. And then he takes like 5 bites. And by the end of the thing, the pizza's gone, even though the rule is only 1 bite. It's like the going gimmick. But he has made the comment before. He got to interview President Trump before last election. He got like a 60-minute interview with him. Like, it was a long interview.
Really?
Yes. He goes on Tucker Carlson a lot. And several people have said, like, why do you go on Tucker Carlson? Why did you interview Trump? He goes, because no one else invites me on because they're afraid, because I'm so transparent and I'm not going to follow the agenda. So he goes on Tucker Carlson. He was on Tucker Carlson last night. And Tucker Carlson tried to kind of like lead him down like a few paths. And every single time Dave was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but Business Insider is it. And he interviewed Trump, and he actually did a decent job interview, because Trump's a hard interview. Like if you're actually
every politician is a
hard interview.
And Trump is as far as politicians go, Trump was the furthest from being like Biden is a career politician. Sure. Trump wasn't. But yes, I'm with you. They're always getting straight answers from any of those people is tough.
And so Portnoy sat down with them, and Portnoy kind of did a decent job of like if Trump said something that was kind of out of the field, Portnoy would be like, you don't really believe that. That can't be. And so he's so transparent, and he's so just comfortable in his own skin. And I think he almost has to be that way because he is a real life vlogger. And what I mean by that is the camera is never not on him.
Right.
Like it's just, there's someone constantly, he literally calls him Frankie, and Frankie follows him around with a microphone and a camera. And so like when he's doing a skit or something, he'll literally, Frankie, did you see that? And Frankie's the guy holding. So how do you cancel somebody when everything is so transparent that he can almost disprove anything you're going to try to go after him on? He's a very unique person.
Well, and has society, in the cancel culture society, has they ever tried to cancel anyone that I want to say we really care about? Like Matt Lauer was like, he was universally beloved until then they found out that people like, well, we don't really love him anymore.
Right.
And so there have been Roseanne Barr until she was out. But the world goes on. Her show even goes on without Roseanne Barr.
Sure.
So is there somebody, he's done his own thing. He's built his own audience of people that like him. Short of doing something really bad, is there like,
I don't know.
I don't know if he's cancelable.
I would agree with that. He's almost done the inverse, where most people, when you film them all the time, it's like it's only a matter of time. Like eventually they're going to do something and it's not going to be good and it's going to get out. He's almost the flip of it, where it's like, because they're always filming him all the time, and because he's so comfortable with who he is, and I don't always agree with everything David Portnoy does. In his core, though, he tends to be very morally correct, like very morally centered. And what I mean, like, he started the Barstool Fund. Do you remember me telling you about this?
This was about the businesses that they raised like $30 million.
Oh my gosh, I think it's up over 50 million now, and towards small business, and it goes directly to those small businesses, and they help them sell their merchandise to raise more business. Like, it is an unbelievable thing. I forget where I read it. He raised more funds for small business during the pandemic than I think it was like 25% of our states in the United States did.
Okay.
Like the things he was pulling off and he was doing. And the best part about it is it's all transparent. You know where the money is. Like there is no 50 million. Did 10 million go to, it's like, oh no, like this company, this little laundromat got 25 grand and like you can literally
who didn't get any of it?
We didn't.
NorthcentralPa.com.
I know. We should have applied.
Why are we saying nice things about this guy?
We should have applied.
Because
we just didn't. We didn't apply. We didn't apply. We should have.
This is what I've always believed this, and we go back to politics. And it's one of the things that sports does better than politics. Sports is very open about their failures. And, even when it's like Tom Brady didn't play well in his last game. Who'd they lose to? He threw a couple picks, and I can't remember.
It doesn't matter.
The game, but be that as it may. And you just come out and you didn't. Yeah. In politics, like, don't you think it would behoove the administration, right, the Biden administration right now, to come out and say, the Afghanistan withdrawal, if we could have done it again, there are things we would have done differently.
Well, transparency,
the mandate, or just admitting that, like, the problem with politics is everything we do is great and everything they do is wrong. And if he came out and said, you know, if we could rewind this, maybe the mandates, because the mask policy is now changing in Pennsylvania. You see that on the news where Wolf was like, come January 6th or something. Like, why January? I didn't get that. But be that as it may. Just to come out and say, hey, now that we've had hindsight, we kind of screwed that up because we do it at work. We do it in our relationships. We should do it. Well, we should do. There's some people that are never wrong, but you get my point. Sure. Politics are those people that are never wrong. And in real life, those are people we can't stand because, of course, they're wrong. So
I think it's transparency.
And that's why I don't think people don't. So, okay, there's people, I'm sure there are people that think, oh, he's dated 30 girls in the last 20. That's terrible. But most people nowadays and age are like, okay, he wasn't married. He wasn't, okay. And so he's flying. This relationship didn't go well. Yeah. And then people are like, I remember that girl and I slept on the couch too. And, so it gives a human element because, and that's what I think that politics is missing. And I'm done now.
Okay. No, you're fine. I agree with you. I think the first step is transparency. And why I say that is there's this big idea right now, like whether it's in politics or debates or whatever you're discussing with family and friends or whoever, there's this idea that like, I have to come over to your side. And what transparency does a lot of times is like, it lets people actually see what's happening and then decide what's right and what's wrong. And so when you look at politics, a lot of the times it's not so much like Biden's right, Biden's wrong, Trump's right, Trump's wrong. It's that we don't know how they got to that decision. And I don't like that because I don't trust that. And so if I'm a Republican and Biden's deciding how to pull out of Afghanistan and there's no transparency and then it's kind of like, well, this is a nightmare. Like this didn't work. What were you thinking?
Well, but I get that
go ahead.
From a governmental aspect, especially when you talk about military stuff.
But that's different.
Like they can't lay it out ahead of time.
Okay, I don't want to know what the plan is. But this is the point I'm making. We ran the Pineapple Express story here at NorthcentralPa.com. To me, still the story of the year.
If you haven't read the Pineapple Express story, not the movie, but the story about Afghanistan, go dig it up. We have it on our site.
It is the story of the year. That happened, and the story was out 5 days later. Whether it was successful, unsuccessful, it happened, story's out, transparency, and now everyone can decide were they right or wrong. Because they were going against the government, remember?
Oh, yeah.
So the point I'm making to you is, I have no doubt there are people reading that story and they're saying, well, they put other people's lives at risk. Like imagine if they would have found out about that and the insurgents would have attacked the airfield because they felt like and listen, I understand people that feel that way. I personally feel like they did what they had to do.
Yep.
Two different sides, but because there's a transparency, I can justify my feeling and my argument about it, and the other side can too. Right now, we lack transparency with everything. And thus, people get entrenched in their side because no one can understand how could they possibly think that? How did they possibly get to that conclusion? I think the first step is transparency, and nobody in social media is better at transparency than David Portnoy.
See, I think it's honesty. Because I think our biggest problem with politics is they say something and we have no idea because everything's always good.
But why do you have no idea?
Because when they come up and tell us that we did this and it was great, do they actually believe it? Because if you are if you're the Dallas Cowboy fan, and you come out and their coach comes out and says, you know what? We didn't really play that bad on Sunday. Now I'm questioning, are you lying to me or are you just clueless?
Because you don't know how they got there. So yes, honesty is an issue, but the first step to getting there is transparency. Because you know what's better than having to tell people that you're right is them knowing that you're right. And you're only going to do that with transparency. That's how you do it. You have to let people know. I do get what you're
saying. They go hand in hand.
You can be the most honest person. I can stand up in front of a podium, and if I'm the most honest person in the world, it means nothing if the people in front of me, I can spit facts and truths all day. And if the people in front of me don't believe it, I can't. If the people in front of me don't believe it, then it doesn't matter.
Jerry's entering. What's up? Yeah, we're still on.
We're still on. You want to say hi?
No.
Solid no. So there's a difference then. If I agree with you, honesty matters. Like I'm not diminishing.
No, I do. But I think they are related.
People want to. I would argue. Not only are they related, they're steps. And honesty is the last step. Like if you want people to believe your honesty, there has to be transparency into how you got there. There has to be. Think of it this way.
Now I'm just focusing.
It would be like
now we're just.
It would no, but it would be like it would be like Jesus without the Bible. Like it would be like
Wait, what?
It would be like
you just pulled a religious reference?
Did because I'm not religious doesn't mean other people aren't religious. What I'm saying though is like there's this idea that people follow the Bible, right? Because it tells the stories and it tells how like it came to be, and now like there's a faith and there's a. So all I'm saying is like right now there is no like road to how people are getting to this stuff. It's just like this is the fact, and believe me. And the hard part for people, like that's hard to just buy into unless you're on my party, you're in my side. Like, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think there's a history to it. Because when, Biden has now made 100 speeches, Trump made 1,000 speeches, and every president does. And politics are unfair. But like when you have a boss, when you have a coach, when you have a relative or whatever, because you have this history with them, when they come up and say something to you, you know whether or not how trustworthy they are. When you might have one uncle who says this, and you're like, oh, Uncle Joe said this, so it's gospel. Uncle John said this, and I can tell he's lying because his mouth is moving. You just get those. So it comes with history as well. It's not just we just have it in one isolated piece. You know what I'm saying?
I think I do, but I don't. Why are you so against transparency?
Well, I don't think. No, I'm not against transparency. I don't think the biggest issue with politics is transparency. I think the biggest issue with politics is we know what they're going to say.
I think it's totally.
We know what they're going to say before they go to the podium.
Yeah,
they're going to say everything.
But that's because there's no transparency.
No, it's because they're lying.
Yes, because there's no transparency. They're allowed to say and do whatever they want to say and do because there's no transparency as to where it's going. Like Robin Williams.
I get what you're saying. I disagree a little bit.
Robin Williams used to have one of the best stand-ups ever because he used to say politicians should have to be like NASCAR drivers. So when they walk up to the podium, it should say like crude oil, Pepsi, like all the donors should be on their suit jacket
I never heard
when they walk up to the podium.
But that is true.
And the whole point of there is like it doesn't change anything about the candidate. It's just transparent. So if they're talking about like building a pipeline, now you know why they're talking about it, and vice versa. It's not even about that people will be better politicians. It's just you as an individual will now have the transparency of where they're coming from. Why are they saying this? Why are they doing it? And then make your choice. Like if you're still going to be a Republican if you're a Republican. You're still going to be a Democrat if you're a Democrat. But at least now you have the sanity of knowing why these people are doing the things they're doing. Our biggest issue, the majority of people who could not stand Trump, is they could not validate or understand in their mind why he was doing or acting the way he was. But if you actually dive into Trump and who he is, I'm not saying it's good, but it makes perfect sense why he says and does the things he does.
But I think
if you know who he's in bed with and you know who's paying him and you know what he's trying to do, none of it surprises you. Zero of it. So transparency is the issue.
And your in bed was not literal; it was figurative.
Both. It was probably both.
But here's the point with the trust aspect. If you don't have to know, if you trust what the person is saying, you don't have to know all the background. Because like if somebody that you have the same musical taste with says, "Here, you should listen to this. This is good," then you just say, "Okay." Because I trust them, and I don't need to delve into the background of why it's good. He told me it's good, so I believe it, and that's what we've lost from politics.
I think that generationally, I think we're so different because when I ask for music, my first question is, "Where did you hear it?" So it's funny. It is. It's the first thing I ask.
In my earbuds, like what? I don't understand.
Oh, like was it on SoundCloud? Was it on YouTube? Like, did you see him somewhere? Like, where did you find this artist?
That's the dumbest question I ever heard. Why did you ask where you saw it?
That's what I'm saying to you. It's a generational difference.
What's it matter?
Oh, because where you found it's going to tell me way more about that band initially than the sound. Is it organic? Where did they come from? Are they under a label? Are they not under a label? All those things are done by the transparency that's opened up to us now. But see, for most people, like before that, there was no transparency in music. Like you heard it on the radio and it was like, hey, you got to hear this song, and people went okay because you heard it on the where else would you have heard it?
Have you ever been MTV? Have you ever been accused of being an overthinker?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Because I ask questions.
No, because like if someone says to you, this is a good song, you should listen to it. You're like, what's the background of it?
So just to clarify, in the last 10 minutes, I fought for transparency and I fought for curiosity, and now I'm condemned because I could be an overthinker.
Oh, no. I didn't condemn you. I just said, did anyone ever say it?
Oh, I'm certainly an overthinker.
I think so.
You think so?
I do.
Okay, so I shouldn't wonder where music comes from.
No, if I said to you, this is a good movie, your first question shouldn't be, where did you see it? It should be like, oh, cool. And this is the reaction. Do I agree? Do Mark and I have the same tastes, or do Mark and I have different tastes? And if Mark and I have the same taste and he says this is a good movie, I might want to check it out.
But but in that instance, you're just blindly following the people that match up your tastes, that match up your opinions. And you and I have talked about that is literally one of the biggest issues we have right now. One of the biggest issues we have right now is people blindly following people of the same party, people of the same opinion.
Well, if you blindly follow someone that you trust, we obviously, if I just walk down the street to someone and say, hey, you should watch this movie, but like you and I have a relationship, we know each other, and you know whether you trust my movie opinions or not, or my musical opinions or not, or whatever the case may be. So we have a history there that builds that.
I just think it's a generational gap, that whether you're asking about music or movies or whether you're talking about politics or different things, I think a younger generation, for better and for worse, they are, where did it come from? Where did you hear it? Why did you hear it? Like, who were you with? Like, all of those things give you context that's going to tell you way more than just listening to the song blindly. I very rarely have I ever told somebody to listen to something and they didn't respond with, where did you hear this? Because like, I don't know if there's so many things to listen to. I would like to think that where you found it is going to tell them more about you and that artist than just the song.
But okay, so when Bruce Springsteen put out a new album last year, Bruce Springsteen and John Bon Jovi put out new albums in the same month.
Yes.
And when I tell people, hey, I bought these, they're both good. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the end.
For you, it is. Yes.
And to them, like, if I'm on the other side of this and somebody else puts out a new album and they're like, hey, did you hear it? Yeah, I heard it. It's good. It's not, I don't need any more background. Yes. I need to know, do I agree with this person's musical taste?
Yeah, your generation is different. Yes.
We're older and broken down. Is that what you're getting to?
No, I'm saying it's different. Like in 1990, what were the odds that you didn't hear the song on the radio?
But what's it matter where you heard it? It's a song.
Because again, see, that's the gap. Because if I say, like, if one of my friends says, hey, I heard this new Travis Scott song, right? And I said, where'd you hear it? And he goes, SoundCloud. That immediately tells me it's probably not on his main album. It immediately tells me that he didn't want to publish it on a main service streaming, right? So what that means is he's either still hoping to add it to the album or he's keeping it until he knows what he wants to do. See, these are things you've never even considered.
But what does that matter to whether it's good or not?
Well, as a fan, it matters because it tells me, like, is this what the album's going to sound like, or is he holding it back because he wants a different sound? Like, a lot of the stuff that artists put on SoundCloud is stuff that didn't fit into the sound of the album. So it was stuff they were experimenting with or they were trying, and they liked it enough to put it out there, but they didn't like it enough to put it on Spotify. They didn't like it enough to actually put it on Apple Music, to add it to the album.
But so if he puts 5 songs on SoundCloud and your friend says, you should listen to this one because this is the best of the 5, then it comes back to whether you generally agree with the musical taste of that friend.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the song.
Correct.
Yes.
We're on different wavelengths here.
We are. It's generational. I tried to tell you that 5 months ago.
You've lost.
It's fine. Anyway. Anything else for today? Maybe we'll save the sports fighting for tomorrow.
Oh, you'll have to go train up. You have to get loose because we're going to demonstrate, and I get to be Jokic.
See, this is the other generational difference too. You're going to act tough and like you get to hit me, but you don't want to be the guy that hit me.
I don't want to be the guy that hit you.
Yeah.
Why?
Because now you're getting a free shot in. Like, oh, we'll demonstrate this thing. Ha ha.
Yeah, that's why.
We are off today.
Because it's a free shot.
This is the worst
it's
show.
A free shot.
Like, I'm going to pull a you. This is the worst show we've ever done.
It's not my fault. I've done everything I can to keep it together.
Someone please comment and tell Mark how bad this show is.
You have just, I have been the voice of reason, and you're just
brutal.
It's almost like we're in a relationship.
So far you fought against, as I look at, here, I'll look at my phone. I'll be you. I'll look at my phone. I'll look at my phone while you talk.
I turned it up.
And then you'll tell me, and then when you're done, I'll put my phone down. And then when I'm done, I'll put my phone down and tell you all the ways that you're wrong.
I didn't fight against transparency. I just think in the order of the order, I don't think you need transparency as much as you have honesty. I think we're debating the order, but I agree that the transparency is certainly an issue.
How do you have honesty without transparency? Would be my question to you. Because let's say you're being honest with me, and let's say you are 100% honest with me, okay? But I say to you, I don't have any transparency. How do I know you're being honest with me? And you just say to me, well, I'm being honest. That tells me nothing.
So if I say to you,
honesty without transparency doesn't mean a ton.
No, I disagree. If I say to you, do you have any money? And you say, no, I don't have any money.
Okay.
And we have a relationship, and I trust your opinion, and you say, and I believe that you say you don't have any money because I said you didn't. I'm not going to say, well, show me your wallet. Open your wallet and empty it out and show me that you don't have any money, because we have a relationship, and I believe if I was like, dude, I need to borrow $20. If you had it, you'd loan it to me.
So let's take it back to the context in which we were discussing, which is politics. I do not have a relationship with any of them. None of them. So now how are you going to build up honesty as a politician?
Well, I mean, they don't. Obviously, we don't have a two.
It's a fair question.
We do have kind of a one-way
relationship.
No,
you don't.
We're familiar with them.
No, you're not.
It's different, but
call
it's
Joe.
not.
Call Joe right now.
Joe who?
Joe, exactly. You like
Joe.
Perfect.
Joe
exactly.
Mama? You want me to call
Biden.
Joe Mama?
Joe Biden, you answered that perfectly, because you don't have a relationship with these people. So the problem with politics is it's a blind trust. It's a blind honesty. I'm in the same.
Well, you don't have a relationship with Barstool guy, but you still trust him.
Who? David Portnoy?
Yeah.
Because he's transparent. That you're literally proving my point for me as we're going along.
No, but you don't. But
he's the most transparent person on social media.
But
by far.
But you still trust him without a relationship.
No, because I don't need the relationship, because he is transparent. You're literally solving this for me.
No, there are
yes,
people.
You are.
There are people that you hear speak. We'll take this. There are NBA coaches and college coaches that you hear speak, that you don't have a relationship with any of them. Some of them you believe every word they say, and some of them you think they are full of crap and they're just feeding the company line. And you don't have a relationship with any of them. But you've just, after hearing them speak over and over and over and seeing how they react, there are some people who come across as trustworthy and some who don't.
Okay, but you're blindly deciding that.
Of course.
Okay, and that part is fine, okay? But what I'm saying to you is, if you're going to go work for Roy Williams, right? Okay? And he says like, "Hey, we don't need a contract. Like you're good." Okay? Okay. For most people that's not good enough. Why do they need that contract? Why do they need to sign the contract? Some of us learn this the hard way.
Well, and
why do you need the contract?
But there are some places in life
where you need the contract.
And I get it. But there are some places in life where there is no transparency. If I say to you, "Do you think this player's good or not?" and you say, "Yeah, I think he's going to be really good," there is no way for me to prove whether you're lying or not, because it's all, I'm asking your opinion. So we can't transparent that. And now it's just, do I believe that you mean that?
We can't transparent that, because it all comes down. Here's how you tell. If you say to me, "Is this player good?" and I just go, "Yeah, he's good," and I don't say anything else, I probably don't really know. But if I say to you, like, yeah, like 3 weeks ago, he put up a really good fight. You know what? I actually saw him preseason down at Lyco. He was playing Milton, and his ball handling wasn't for all stuff. Now, all of a sudden, what am I giving you? I'm not just giving you honesty. I'm giving you transparency. And now you're able to be like, oh, wow, like he saw him twice, and he really did. Like he does feel that way about him and everything else. I'm telling you,
I didn't need that.
transparency.
I didn't need that. When you told me he was good, I believed you.
Yes.
I don't need when you're telling me more and more, I'm almost like, are you trying to convince me or convince you? Because I believed you.
Because we have a relationship.
Correct.
Okay. You walk up to a coach you don't know. Mm-hmm. Hey, is that player good? Yeah, he's good. And they walk away. Do you believe him or don't you? You don't. Now
because I've never heard him speak before. I don't know. I've never heard him speak.
Exactly. So how does that coach win you over? Never talked to him before. Hey, is that player good? Yeah, actually, I've been following him around. My son plays on his team. We were actually just down in a tournament. He played the number 2 kid in the country, held his own, like slid in front. Now, all of a sudden, without ever knowing this coach, his opinion goes from here to here with no relationship at all. And how did he do that? With transparency.
But he just gave more and more of his opinion. That doesn't really help me.
Okay.
It all comes down to relationship.
You're right. I'm wrong. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show.
I'm glad we got to that.
Thank you.
Why did it take 55 minutes?
Let me know when I'm allowed to shout us out.
Sorry. I didn't.
And thank you to NorthcentralPa.com. Be sure to go there for all your local news.
I did everything I could. I feel like Danny and the Miracles.
No, I'm just really happy. When you follow blindly into the dark abyss, I'm just going to shake my head and be like,
are you old enough to know who Danny and the Miracles are?
What, who?
Are you old enough to know Danny and the Miracles?
Oh, was Tom Hanks in that?
No.
Wasn't there a show about a band, like a Beatles style band, and Tom Hanks
was called
like the director?
That Thing You Do.
Okay, that wasn't Dan. What were they called though? What was the name of the band? It wasn't Danny and the Miracles.
It was. I saw the movie. I actually think I own the movie.
That was the first thing that came to mind when you said it.
No, Danny and the Miracles was Danny Manning and the Kansas when they won the national championship.
Cool.
You've never heard that?
Danny and the Miracles?
Because he was like the one-man show, and they took him to the national title.
Kansas University winning a title should never be a miracle.
They had one good player.
I understand that, but they're Kansas.
Well, I know, but they had one good player.
Like when Duke wins a title and they didn't have like a stud, no one's like the Duke Miracle. Like they were Duke. Like Kansas won a title.
But that's the whole Kansas. All they have in Kansas is Dorothy. Come on, stop.
Anything Kansas in basketball should not be called the Miracle.
It was Danny and the Miracles.
That's awful. Who decided that?
I don't know. Probably the same guy who dubbed Phi Slamma Jamma. But that wasn't awful. That was awesome.
Joe says trust fills the gap formed by honesty without transparency. I would agree with that. Heather, it's about time Jeff finally admits that Mark is right. Yeah. Took a while. So listen, everybody just follow blindly.
Follow blindly with people you trust.
Find the people you agree with and just follow them blindly until and you don't need any transparency. You don't need to know why people are doing the things they do. I'm sure that'll work out well for everybody.
Trust.
Yeah.
It's not about you follow the people you trust.
Trust. I'm going to look up all the people who trusted somebody and see how that worked out for them.
Well, sometimes it doesn't work.
See how that filled the void of transparency.
You know where it doesn't work very well?
What's that?
WWE.
Really?
They turn on people they trust all the time. It's bad. It's bad.
That's fake, right?
No, predetermined.
Predetermined. I've never heard wrestling described as
you never heard that? Oh, it ain't fake. Like, what's his name? Who's the little dude that's married to the one Bella's sister? Daniel Bryan's had like 9 concussions.
I love that.
You can't have a fake concussion.
No, listen. The physicality is certainly real, but I've just never heard it described as predetermined. You're still following. It's a loose script, but you are following a script.
That's why it's predetermined.
It's
just like a movie. Guy's going to get girl or guy's going to lose girl, or
your ability today to defend your stances come hell.
What it is? It's predetermined. It's not fake. They get broken bones. They get injured all the time. It's not fake. It's just they know who's going to win before it starts, unless it is the Montreal Screwjob and you're Bret Hart.
I could say I'm Evel Knievel, but if I go off a 3-foot board and break my leg, I was still fake Evel Knievel just because I broke my leg. Like it's still fake.
No, it's not. It's not fake.
Yes, it is.
It's not. It's predetermined.
Yes, okay, but like, they're like, okay, if I was really hitting somebody with a chair,
Yes.
okay, when they're going to hit,
It hurts.
It hurts. I don't deny it. When I hit that person with the chair, though, I'm not like, if I was really like wrestling, if I was really doing it, like, I'd make sure like that person's arm was like destroyed. Like, that's not what they're doing. Like, they're not. So it's fake, because if people were really out there and it was real, like, people would die. Like, people would
absolutely
die.
But when so it's fake. When Shane O'Mac jumps off the top of the steel cage, it's real. He flies through the air. He feels he crashes through a table.
Yes, but do they sell it to you as it's predetermined? Like, no. They don't market it as like the WWPE, the World Wrestling Predetermined Federation or whatever. Like, they market it as if it was real, and it is.
And so does every TV show.
So it's fake.
TV shows all market it that it's real.
No, they don't.
And they don't market it.
That's why they're called dramas.
So that's why it's called sports entertainment. It's not called.
Will you please say wrestling is fake before we get off the air?
It's not fake. It's predetermined.
It's fake.
I don't see why it's fake.
So
it's real blood.
So
it's real injuries.
So just so I understand, wrestling is not fake because people get hurt.
Correct.
Thus, it must be real. So the qualification for something being real is that they get hurt while doing it. That's where your logic is going.
Well, yeah, it is real. They just know who's going to win. It's fixed. They know who's going to win. It's scripted.
Okay.
But it's not fake.
It's fake. It's fake. It's fake wrestling. It's a real drama.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's fake wrestling.
Well, it's theatrical. It's not amateur wrestling. No, I get that. But it's
fake. It's a real drama.
You're going to walk away from this. The people that are listening right now that aren't you, because you just won't agree. The people that walk away are like, that's the best way to determine professional, because the injuries are countless.
Mm-hmm.
So how can it be fake if guys are getting hurt all the time?
I just told you how it's fake.
No. It's predetermined.
I just told you how it's fake, though, because the results would be significantly worse. The things they're doing aren't real. If I hit somebody with a chair over their head, like, people would start to die. They're not like, it's not.
They would. Because they're real steel chairs. They really.
Yes.
Did you ever see The Wrestler?
Yes.
Good movie.
Yes, it is. What's your point?
They're real staple guns. They're like when guys bleed. When I was a kid, they were like, "Oh, it's a blood cap." So there's no blood cap. They get cuts. That's why they cut themselves.
Okay.
It's real blood.
So wait, just to clarify, what you just described. So I get hit in the chair. My hand goes like this. I cut myself. The little kid thinks I got cut because the chair hit me. But what really happened? I cut myself. You just described,
but it's
in
a real
10
cut.
Seconds, why it's fake.
But it's real blood.
Okay, but it's real. Fake. Even the reason you're bleeding isn't real.
You're bleeding because your forehead got cut.
By the chair or by your
Well, it's a sleight of hand. It's a stage show. It's a magician's trick, but it's still.
It's as real as magic is what you're telling me. Oh, now I understand. I get it. I get it now.
When the bird's dead, it's dead. In the magic show, when they kill the bird, it's real. And then the other one flies away because the other one's dead.
Yeah, so the magic's not real.
But the bird, the real bird, that flew away is really alive, and the bird that's dead is really dead. It's just how they put the show together.
See, Joe brought up a good point. Did you ever see The Wrestler? What happened to the follow-up question? Where did you see it? Because there's the funny part. I've never seen The Wrestler.
I just asked you that. Did you see The Wrestler? And you said no.
You took my see. You got it. Transparency. It matters.
No, it's about honesty. I can't prove your answer or not. You just said
transparency.
Unless I give you a quiz.
You followed me blindly.
I believed you. Why would you lie about that?
Now you suffer the consequences.
Did you not? Have you really never seen
it? For following blindly.
Have you never seen it?
I did. I actually.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, because it was nominated the year it came out.
Marissa Tomei was great. What's his name? Mickey Rourke. I want to say Mickey Rooney.
It was also. I remember. I actually saw it later. I saw him as the villain in Iron Man. And after seeing him as the villain in Iron Man, I was like, I got to see The Wrestler. And then I watched it.
And it was the same director was the dude who directed Black Swan.
Okay.
He has some that Arnashofsky, or he has some really complicated last name. But yeah, they're the same because when you talk about different worlds, like you would think that a guy that does ballet they just seem like a very odd match. But when you watch them, there's a grittiness to them that same director though.
If you go back and watch, when's the last time you've seen it? Has it been a while?
The Wrestler?
Yeah.
It's probably been a couple years.
I've only seen it twice. The second time I watched it, what I noticed, the way they do the sound, and you almost don't notice it, but the way they do the sound when like he's kind of like in it and then he's out of it and like different points is you kind of like, I almost felt like I was there, like I was him just by the sound. Whoever the sound production was, like they should have won. Give them medals. They should have won.
It's such a good movie. And have you ever seen Mickey Rourke won something? I don't know if it was Golden. He didn't win the Oscar.
Okay.
But he won Golden. I want to say, is Golden Globes the one? I think he was half drunk when he gave his acceptance speech.
Okay.
And it was like 7 minutes long. And it's worth your 7 minutes.
It's worth going to.
It's not
2 minutes.
Have you ever seen Adam Sandler's acceptance speech from the Independent Spirit?
Yeah.
That one's worth it too. It might not be quite as good as Adam Sandler's, but it was good because Mickey Rourke had a tough run. When he was young, he was like, he did a lot of things and then he just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
So
Mickey Rourke, real person.
And you know what else? I trust him.
Yes, that's good. Transparent. You can see what he's doing all the time. It's on screen. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina, and we will see you tomorrow.
We'll do better.